All right, guys, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, if you don't have an agenda already, there should be one in front of you. We're gonna break it up into 3 sections here. So we're just gonna do some quick introductions. We're gonna have about a 20-minute Q&A with Ryan. And then we're gonna do 2 little exercises. The first is we're gonna actually get into writing the preamble to a potential charter for the city of Wilmington. So it's short and sweet. And then the second thing we're gonna do is look at the first 3 articles of a potential charter for Wilmington and decide on naming conventions for that. If you want to skip ahead in your agenda, there's some information in there too. But like I said, we're going to start with introductions. Hopefully make these meetings more formulaic, so it's not so chaotic every time. But this is recording, so if you have something to say, please just raise your hand. We'll pass the mic to you so we can hear it on the recording. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to get this question in. We're going to go around and just say your name, maybe organization that you're with, if you don't mind. Sydney, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Sydney Wortley from the Clinton County Coalition.
Oh, you want to know who I am? Oh, I'm Rick Phillips. I'm with Wilmington Community Broadcasting. We do the Wake Up Wilmington show right here from beautiful Murphyfield.
I'm Bill Martin from Trenton Mayor. Just resigned as chairman of the Ramp Up Getting Tool.
And I'm Bruce Saunders. I'm with the Clinton County Trails Coalition.
I'm John Wormel. I'm the pastor of Wilmington Assembly of God.
And I'm Nate Terry. I have a construction company here in Contract.
I'm Dustin. I own a company called Make Sharp. We build websites. And then Molly's here as well. She works at our company. So yeah, let's get into Ryan. Tell us about, let's see the questions we have here. Tell us about yourself and how you got involved with politics.
So I guess getting involved in politics was kind of a winding road for me. I started off going to college for political science and history, and got out and was going to go work for John Boehner, if you guys remember John Boehner, but didn't really agree after talking to him a little bit, so I took a job in an aerospace company. Just to work their shipping dock until I figured out what I was going to do with my life, and then ran for politics while I was at the aerospace company, and then switched to another company to do the same thing. So I guess at the age of 40, I decided what I was going to do with my life by default there. But I got into politics just because I liked it. A long time before that, with the church, I did community outreach. I did their events, did a lot of event coordinating, became part of the Parks Board after I got on council, and then, just served on council for a while. The mayor asked me if I wanted to be vice mayor once the vice mayor wasn't elected anymore, and then after being vice mayor for 4 years, he said, "Are you ready to be mayor? Because I think I'm ready to be done." So luckily, there's a tradition in Trenton that we've been doing where the last 2 years of the former mayor, he steps down, and the next up steps up to mayor. So I have luckily for these 2 years had my former mayor as my vice mayor, so he has pushed me through everything.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that a formal process or just something you guys do?
It's just something that we started doing. There was a time when a mayor and a vice mayor didn't get along at all. And the mayor just kind of quit and didn't turn over anything, even the keys to the office. The mayor that took over for them had to ask for the keys of the office, and they had to go to their house and pick it up because they didn't want to leave it. And that was something that none of us wanted to go through again. I mean, it's scary enough to just become mayor all of a sudden and you're leading meetings, but we also have a mayor's board. So you're going from being a vice mayor where you're pretty much another council member to you're leading meetings, you're leading a court, and you're the person that everybody talks to about their problems. So we wanted to make sure there was a mentor there at all times now to take care of that.
So you're the mayor of Trenton. Can you give us a little bit of detail about Trenton's size and demographics, maybe some things that you guys are proud of, and then some things that are challenges that you're working on as a city?
So Trenton has around 14,000 right now. The demographics are pretty much middle class. We're very much a bedroom community. We have very little industry, pretty much two large industries. We have Carvana that's there, and we also have a place called Shape Corp that does aluminum extrusions, a lot of battery operated cars, all of that they take care of. As far as things we're proud of, we're really proud of our growth here lately and how aggressive we've been with growth. We now are, this year, gonna put in 800 new homes around Trenton. We're developing into a lot bigger city than what we were before, so a lot of people are trying to get in. We're actually sold out of industrial land and land to build homes on. So we have no more land right now that we could possibly develop in Trenton. So we're pretty proud of that because we sat on an industrial park for probably 15 years with nobody really wanting to buy it. And now we're buying land that's not in the city just by hopes that we can connect to it and then eventually annex it in. So the challenges we face, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, we can't get the resources that we need in our city. So right now, a lot of times what happens is we'll have a company that wants to move in and they'll be looking for electricity. Well, we'll go to Duke and say they need X amount of electricity, and Duke says, well, we'll have to add on to that, because believe it or not, Duke can't make enough electricity right now. So we're looking for more electricity. Well, they'll say, we'll build it once you sign the lease agreement with this company, then we'll start our building process. But no company wants to wait for 2 years while Duke builds up their electricity. And plus, you go back and the company says, well, when Duke agrees to build it, we'll go ahead and sign and buy the land. Now, we have overcame that a little bit. Luckily, the company that bought a large piece of our industrial park said that they would supply Duke with everything they needed to make the electric plant able to sustain itself. So we really kind of lucked out with that. And they're a very large company, and they can, like they said, oh, we've already bought all the supplies, we'll just give it to them, and if they can make that. Now, that being said, now we're on the opposite, we're looking for water. So we currently provide all of our citizens with water. We have a city-ran water treatment plant, but we can't come up with the water that these companies need. And then once we talked to them, they said that they would add on to our water treatment plant and everything, but there's no way possible that us and Southwest Water, if you guys know about Southwest Water, they supply a lot of water around here. Us two together can't possibly give them enough water. So, I mean, it seems like it's a story of everywhere I go. Everyone's looking for resources, and they're pretty hard to come by right now.
Yeah, we have a economic development person here in Wilmington, Josh Roth, and he was giving a presentation at KMA recently. He said that one of our city's biggest hindrances right now is the sewer water, and because you need that water to get to build like new houses and stuff, you know. So we're facing similar challenges here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so next question before I open up to you guys to ask specific questions about a charter city. Can you maybe describe how your charter city works and some of the benefits that you see with that system? Also, you maybe your city manager as well.
Yeah, so how our city works is the council is elected, and then from council you get the vice mayor and the mayor elected. Now, the only real duties that the mayor has except for as a council member is to run council meetings and then also to look over the court. So I'm able to be a judge in my own court, but I see it as a conflict of interest, so I have a magistrate do it. The day-to-day operations are ran by a city manager. Our city manager is Marcus Nichols. He previously came from Hamilton, Ohio, and he has a very strong economic development background. And really, we were talking about this a little bit. The good thing about having a city manager is they're professionals in the job that they do. So, like I was saying before, I test things for a living. If I had to run a city, I would have no idea how to run a city. I'm not even gonna act like I do. This person graduated from college, he went through HR, he went through economic development, he was an assistant city manager. He's trained to run the city. This is his profession. Or with me, I'm trained to make sure planes don't fall out of the sky, or you don't eat metal and ice cream. So I actually think it's a great way to go, because you're letting professionals actually run it, but you still have the oversight of council at the same time. To that, this is being tape recorded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that my friend in Vermont doesn't get this. My wife's a Vermonter, and one of my friends is a strong mayor in Vermont, and he has very much had his struggles because he came from an IT background, and what he did was he went from being, I think, 5 or 6 years as an alderman to being mayor of the city, and his life really changed once he won the mayorship, because he hadn't had to deal with that. Like you hear about budgets and things like that, but when you're making sure that you have the budget to get the street cleaned and fixed and everything, instead of just voting on the plan the city manager has, it changes it completely. And I know that he's had his struggles, because it's everything from, like I said, streets to economic development to overseeing youth sports within the town. They actually do have a say in the school board, so he oversees some of the school board as well. So it was a challenging adjustment to him, and one that even 3 years in, he's still getting used to.
So we're doing pretty good on time. I'm gonna be Vanna White here for a minute. If you guys have questions, I'll pass the mic to you. You can just ask specific things about how Charter City works.
I got a question for you. Oh, you said that, your city manager really knows what he's doing, is well-trained and well-experienced. If you didn't have a charter city, would you have been able to attract somebody like that to run the city? What happens in Wilmington is, we have a strong mayor, and they getting reelected every 4 to 8 years, and so they can't get someone like a trained city manager, because if you're a trained city manager, you want more of a job guarantee than 4 years, because the next guy may choose his uncle or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so can you speak to that?
Yeah, honestly, I think it lends itself to more stability, because unlike, if I'm correct, here in Wilmington, the mayor can fire the city manager at any time. Am I correct on that?
We don't have a city manager.
Oh, you don't have one at all?
We have-
Okay.
We
But he
have a
fires
city
everybody
safety
else.
director.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he hires everybody else too, so.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. You're not gonna wanna deal with every 4 years looking for a job. At least here, we can let go our city manager for any reason at any time. He's an at-will employee. But it takes 4 votes by council to do so. So you have more of a diverse council that you're dealing with as a city manager here than you would just one person as the public safety director. I mean, really, if you get mad at somebody on a Saturday morning and you just wait till Monday and you have every right to get rid of them then, my personal opinion is you're dealing with the will of one person instead of the will of 7 elected officials.
Thanks.
Right.
You're good. Good.
I read history. You run a political party, or you run independent?
We don't have party affiliation.
That's right. That's what I thought it was. I'm upset with the context today between the 2 parties. It did not exist when I was growing up.
I will say, luckily on our council, and this is one thing that I tell everybody that I talk to, it is a very vocal rule for us in Trenton, and I'm trying to preach the gospel to everybody around here. We do not deal in politics that are bigger than the city. So as mayor, as soon as everything starts, I have to talk with council, the new council members, and say we have a tradition of we're not going to discuss national hot button issues, because there's no real reason for it. I respect where you stand. We'll talk about it all day long off the record, but we're not gonna grandstand here in the council chamber about issues that there's no way that we can affect whatsoever. That is one thing I would suggest, and we've never really had that. We've never really had a really bad debate in council. I know I've watched other cities' council meetings and they've been quite interesting. I just watch them and say I would never deal with that.
Some of the issues, election issues, affection?
It's some of,
EPA, some of these federal agencies still control a lot of what you do as a city, right?
but there's nothing we can do to change that. So yes, they do, and there are some things that the county or the state does that will write a stern letter to them saying we don't appreciate it. But as far as changing the policy, there's nothing really we can do, so I understand what you're saying, and yes, you're right, but if it's something that we can't change, then we don't really have a discussion about it because we're too busy having movies in the park and things like that that are fun, that the citizens really enjoy, and that's something we can do. But yes, you're right, we had some things we disagreed with the EPA in Trenton not too long ago. And yeah, and what we came up with is that we wrote them a letter saying that we object to what they were saying. The council members that wanted to sign it signed it. We sent it off and had a concert in the park, really. Because there was nothing, we can yell and scream about it all we want, but nothing's going to happen.
You're this close, but I need a microphone. Curious when you talk about Trenton's growth and as you present ideas and as you talk about new housing and things like that, how do you combat some of the argument maybe from some people who don't want that growth or they wanted to stay a smaller town or have that perception of this is how it's always been, it's how I wanted to keep it that way? What are some of the things you speak to and maybe some differing thoughts when it comes to actually growing? What's that look like?
That's funny, I've never heard that before. No, and the reality of it is it's very limited what we can do when it comes to growth. And this is one thing that I explain to a lot of people is we can't turn down something that the land is zoned for. So if we zone for industrial, let's say, and an industry that's legal and approved by the state to operate buys it, there's nothing we can do to stop it. So for instance, one of our subdivisions that we're about to put in, they wanted to put in homes that were, we call them R2s. They have a minimum square footage. They're one step under, we call estates, which is, I think, 3/4 of an acre per lot, and a pretty big house. Well, they didn't want to put in the R2s. They wanted to do some, like a mixed use. So what they wanted to do was put in some homes that were like in the R2, R3, and then they wanted to put in some townhomes, but they'd be townhomes more in the 3-story townhomes, the garage on the first, the living area, pretty expensive townhomes. And then they wanted to put in a retirement community of 50 and over, 60 and over in that. Well, that's not legal under the zoning. But what we can do is we can change the zoning. They applied for what we call a PUD. Now don't ask me what that stands for, but.
Plan unit development.
Oh, thank you. I've always just heard PUD. And that way we can negotiate everything that has. So what I tell people is I understand where you're coming from. And I remember when Trenton had less than 10,000 people. I get it, but there's nothing you can do about that legally. We always hear about pizza places because if you go to Trenton, we have every pizza place there. Yeah. If you want pizza, come to Trenton. You can do a taste test of all the major chains in one day. But there was nothing that we could do to stop another pizza place coming. So yeah, we can mitigate the growth and we could actually slow it down to an extent, but there is no stopping.
Can you be more strategic with the growth? Having a city manager?
Yes, you can. What it does is it plants a vision for the future that isn't changing every few years. So we've had our city manager now for 8 years, And you can really see the vision taking shape once you've had that spot permanent for a long time. It gives time for people to actually work towards goals instead of it being just a quick, I'm in here for 2 years, 4 years until I find a better place somewhere else or something happens. You have very long-term growth, and any big deals work for years. I remember when we brought Carvana in, it was working for 3 years before they ever broke ground. And it was 4 years from the time they approached us until they were done. So I think that's something you have to do if you're gonna have major industry or large companies are gonna take you seriously over the long term.
One of the things people say is that a charter city runs like a business, where you have like the council as your board, and then your city manager like the CEO. And then one of the arguments that we've discussed is that it can be less expensive to have a city manager, even though you're paying more money for that person. You have less turnover, because right now our strong mayor can every 4 years get a new service director, get a new transit director, get a new police chief. All this turnover, where the mayor might not get a large salary, but when you have so much turnover, I guess our thought is that that's kind of expensive. Do you think that having a city manager paying them a higher salary is a more effective use of tax dollars, or do you think it's still a struggle?
I think it's effective in the vision that you get for the future. Our city manager is more than paid for himself from the time he's been here. Or there, sorry. From the time he's been in that position, he's more than paid for himself. I would have to look at the statistics for you guys on salaries, because, I mean, I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but I don't make that much money being there. Our city manager makes a decent amount, but I don't make that much being there. I think our council members make $200 a month. Our vice mayor made enough, or makes enough, at least when I was vice mayor, that it covered the taxes. So I brought home 200 instead of the 173 or 174. I make a little bit more as mayor, but I have to show up to mayor's court. So I'm basically there every either Wednesday or Thursday a month. I make a little under $500 a month. So I don't know how much your mayor makes, and I don't know how much your public safety director makes, but I mean, I think total all in, our city manager makes $200,000 a year. But if you add the two salaries together, like I said, without those numbers in front of me, the mayor and the council make, I won't say practically nothing, but yeah. Yeah.
Mayor's part-time.
Oh, okay.
So when you said the city manager is more than paid for himself, thank you. How do you mean that? Did he bring in grant money or federal dollars, or how is it that you feel like he's more than paid for his salary?
Well, I will tell you that we've had, he does a lot of our economic development as well. We had Shape Corp, which used to be Magnet, it was in the middle of Trenton, and they were ready to move out of Trenton. That's about 400 jobs. He was on the phone with them daily about what it's gonna take for them to stay. What do we need to do? And they were shopping around. They tried to go, well, they didn't try to go, they talked to Hamilton. They were talking to places in Michigan where their headquarters is. They were talking to another couple southern states. But at the end of the day, it gave that he could keep them there. Now they're adding another 400 jobs, and they're moving all of their operations as far as headquarters to Trenton, because we're so easy to work with and we appreciate them in the community so much. They all want to move here. So that's one thing I don't think that you could pay that much attention to. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but that's just one aspect of what he did. Also the Carvana deal, that's another 500 jobs that came into the city. The increased tax base, yeah, you said it, the increased tax base is well worth it. You have somebody there all the time. Constantly in the city, someone calls, the city manager answers. And there's going to be, I'm not at liberty to say that, but significantly more businesses moving into Trenton. It seems like every council meeting we have an executive session over land we're buying, land we're selling, or where we are on a few projects.
When you originally, you have any kind of city, and how long did it take to convert to a charter city?
I think we went from a village to a charter city.
How long ago?
I think 1970 was when the original charter. And it's changed very little in the time, right?
Vote of the residents?
Yes. Yeah, minor changes in the charter here and there, but nothing major.
So 50 years later, we're still exploring the concept. Oh.
Whoever has the mic, can you please pass it to Sydney?
I'm curious, what strategies are you using to tackle housing affordability and homelessness in your city?
So, housing affordability is a big thing for everybody now, and it just seems to be getting bigger with the property tax going up. Now, to answer your question, we don't really have a lot of homelessness. Every once in a great while, but a lot of it is in Middletown. It's a little bit further, but we're trying to put in some lower cost homes. Like I said, with the PUD, we've had a lot of people say that what we want is we want a home that we can move into. We don't want to do maintenance on the grass. We don't want to worry about any of that. We want it to be nice to have friends over, but we're not looking for a huge home. So we're changing how we look at affordability of homes, especially now that we keep getting the property tax going up. Sorry, I've talked about property tax in my state rep run all the time. So it's one thing that seems to be a theme that keeps coming up. But yeah, I would say what you need to do is you need to, for us to continue to tackle it, you have to offer homes at all different price points. And by doing that, you get a large number of people that will own their homes, which is much better for a community than renting. But that has to be some of the home diversity that you have to plan for in the future.
I only have time for maybe one more question right now, and then we're gonna go to looking at a preamble for a charter. If anyone has one final thought. I have an idea if you don't.
Oh, I have one too.
Yeah, go for it.
You can go ahead with yours.
Oh,
And then I'll
So my last question was just, some people have a concern that a city manager is not an elected official. So it kind of scares them, where the mayor in our town is elected, he's the administrator, but a city manager, administrator would not be elected, so that kind of concerns some people. How would you address that concern?
Well, they're right, number one, that a city manager isn't elected, but everyone that controls what they do is.
City council.
Yeah, city council is, and city council gets contacted all the time about that, and the city manager has to understand, as does everybody in the government, that they work for the people. And we've had a couple employees that made statements to the effect of, I work for the city, not for the people, and they didn't last very much longer. So that's one thing that I would say to anyone that says that. If the city manager you ever think doesn't work for the people, well, then it's time for them to go. And they're accountable to council, and if enough citizens don't like how they're going, if you have, I don't know how many council members you have.
7.
Okay, 7. Just think there are only 4 elected officials away from being gone. I understand that they're one step removed from elected officials, but all it takes is 4 council members, and I wouldn't imagine that you run 4 and then 3 on council, correct? So,
That's what it's supposed to be.
yeah, so, one election. They're always one election away.
Is it all elected at large or by district?
We're elected at large.
Is that the best system?
Oh, that's a good question. So, in our charter, we actually change after a certain population to go to districts. So the way we're set up, and any of you get on Trenton's website and read it, after, I think it's 14,000, but don't quote me on that, we switch. When we go to districts, there's really arguments to be made either way. I mean, we have council members from all over the city. I could see how a very diverse city could have one area with a lot of council members and not so many in another, so I could see that argument as well. So,
We have 4 at large and 4 wards, and we have 3 at large.
okay. That's a nice mix. I never even thought of that, I kinda like that.
No, that's good.
Yeah, after knowing that, I would say stick there, because then you're forced to have some diversity, but you're not excluding people in the same ward that both of them would be good candidates for the job. Well done.
Well, we'll have more time for questions as we go through the next couple of things, but what I wanted to do, this is new to me, so give me some grace here. But I printed out on the agenda, on the second page, there is, there is 5 different cities' preambles. So it's kind of like the preamble for the Constitution of America. It's just we the people declare we want to become a charter city. They're pretty similar. Trenton's is on there. You have Tip City, Lebanon, Loveland, and Miamisburg. So what I was hoping we could do is just read through them so you understand what a preamble looks like. Maybe circle some things that you would want in Wilmington's charter, because they do vary a little bit. So I'll give you guys about 5 minutes and then we'll kind of convene and discuss that.
Yes, I have. I was on 2 charter committees. So, I was on one when I first started in council, and then I was on one 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
There was something that you suggested. Something you suggested that change?
County and the city.
We reviewed and then we made some changes to it. The changes were, some of them were just antiquated. Like, you have to advertise meetings in 3 newspapers, not owned by the same company, and it's like, so we had Dayton Daily, Middletown Journal, and Cincinnati Enquirer, so people in downtown Cincinnati were reading about Trenton's city council meetings. It was one about, you have to publish all of the ordinances in the library, or post them in the library before they're adopted. And we just said they have to be posted either in the city building or digitally. We always post them digitally. You know, they're always on the website in the agenda form, so that was kind of antiquated.
It's nothing like super crazy.
We changed, the only thing I would say that was crazy that we changed is it used to be that you had to have 3 readings of a ordinance in order to be adopted. So you had to go a month and a half of reading this ordinance before it's adopted. We changed it to 2. So really you can have something presented to you and pass it over. Now I do have some suggestions. Like I said, my city attorney talked to me for like an hour today about this, and he had some suggestions. Yeah.
Okay.
What things, the things that he thinks our charter is antiquated or weakened, that he would write differently. A lot of them, he said, were things that you want them to be flexible. So what he noticed, and he has a lot of cities he does municipal law for, and I've known him for a very long time, so he speaks pretty freely. He was saying, like, we have in our charter how much a city manager is allowed to spend without council. But that's changed a couple times in history, and money obviously isn't worth the same amount as what it was. It's not like we're changing and letting the city manager spend freely, but he said, in my idea, that should be something that you do by ordinance, not by charter, because is, let's say inflation happens and you have a limit of 5,000 for your city manager. He can't spend that much money without going to council, and then that puts like the brakes on a lot of things, cause you've gotta wait 2-3 weeks to go to council. So he said that should be moved towards the ordinance side. So that way, the city council can change that on the fly and keep it a little bit more able to react to current trends. And that's really what his biggest complaint about ours was that some of the things that were put in there and that were taken out don't let us react quickly to problems that happen. So if we change something with planning and zoning, it has to be read in council for the first reading. We have to refer to planning commission that meets once a month. We have to let it wait for 30 days. We have to have a public hearing, then we can adopt it, and then it has 30 days before it takes effect. And there's no way to get around it. So we allowed chickens in our city here lately. One kid came and said, how about quail? This kid wanted to be quail, and they're smaller than chickens. It's a common sense thing. But we still were 90 days before we could change that. So his point was, why send it to planning commission? Council filters all that in. So if after the first reading, council wasn't going to pass it, then they would have killed it. So why even take anything to planning commission? Council has the ability to override it. So pretty much we're doing 30 days for nothing. So that was his point, and a lot of little things.
That's why we have a representative.
All right, we're gonna bring it back together. So, again, first time doing this. So, how about we just do it by table? What are some things that you guys maybe thought should stay, or should change, or should combine together in a preamble?
I think we all looked at some of these things, and we liked the part where it said for ourselves and our children in that preamble, because it's present and future focused. You know, it's for ourselves, but also for our children. It has that next generation kind of a emphasis in there. And you know, I think, you know, when we look at doing this for Wilmington, I think we need to remember that this isn't just for us. It's for the folks down the line that are going to really see advantage from this as well. And so Nate and I were talking about that a lot. Like, man, like I like that it says, and our children. You know, I like the future focus of that.
I'm in agreement.
I underline these words. I really like and it's kind of says in other places where the advantages of self-government conferred by the state or by the Ohio Constitution. Just a reminder that that's actually given to us on the state level. I think that's important to have that language. That we're not like trying to step outside of some boundary that doesn't exist.
I think most of them do say that, it seems like, except maybe for one,
Yeah.
which is good. Yeah, that's good. We're not trying to start a militia or something.
We're not revolting.
Not revolting.
Doesn't the charter government more autonomy when it comes to what they do with their municipality or whatever? That because the state doesn't, you don't answer to the state for everything. You become more autonomous to running your own show. And there's a lot of things that the state can't force you to do anymore by governing this way.
I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot that the state is trying to dictate now that they didn't used to dictate, but you're right. There are a lot of things that you have home rule on that you can do separate from the state.
Which is good, because that, once again, the more you can spread out that
it used to be that we controlled our own taxes. So we had the ability to set up our tax structure any way that we saw fit. We don't have that anymore, unfortunately, but that was one thing. Another thing is what we can do as well is we can use the guidelines of the state, but lessen them to fit where we want them to fit. So pretty much what we do is we take the state and all that legislation and we say, okay, this is our guidelines, our bumpers, but we can go anywhere within those two bumpers that we want to go, depending on what problems we are having. Yes.
One of the preambles says, let me find where it says. Oh, it's tipsy. It says they're doing this to secure and exercise all powers and benefits of self-government conferred by the Constitution of the State of Ohio. That was one of the few that I saw that added the word empowers. I wasn't sure if that's something that is good or bad, because it just adds on to the word benefits of saying power as well. Is that too strong or unnecessary? Did you guys notice that or not?
I don't think anybody rejects voting for a charter just because they think empowers just means it's giving you more power. And I think that that's good. At least I perceive it. And that's why I say that as far as with the charter freeing us up from a lot of that control at a state level, and I'm not saying that we're seceding or anything like that, but at the same time, it does give more local choice, and that's whether you're talking schools or everything as local as it can get is best for the individuals that live in those localities.
I think to that point, some of them just say self-government, but some say local self-government. So I think including that word local would be good too.
Yeah.
Probably on that point.
I mean, honest, I'm giving personal opinion here, so this is in fact, this is personal opinion, but my thoughts are always that in my years of government, I've discovered that not many people know who their state reps are. So if I go to Trenton and I ask, who's your state rep? They have no idea. But if I go to get gas at, we have a place called Todd's IGA, it's like the local hangout, I'm gonna get stopped 2 or 3 times coming out of there. And not that that frustrates me, but I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
In my personal opinion.
It's accountability.
Well, in my personal opinion, the most local leadership should have the most power of the everyday life because they're held the most accountable.
Absolutely.
I mean, the only reason I know who my state rep is that he stays engaged a whole lot. But if I ask the normal people in Trenton who's their state rep, they have no idea. And less with who's their state senator. Maybe county commissioners, I might get 1 of 3. But you know who your council members are, and you call them all the time. I get a call from, hey, this is Mary Sue, I got your number from Beth, this number. Hey, my food truck got stopped because it's parked in this place. Is there anything that you can do? Because I don't want to shut my food truck down. I think that's the power of local government. That's an actual thing that happened, not the names. But someone had a food truck and their food truck was in an area that was illegal. But they didn't know it. Well, in 1 week, what we did was we changed to fit their needs for their food truck. The way our ordinances were written is that food trucks couldn't be on the road. But then at the same time, we didn't have anything for food trucks on your property, so they were put under general trailers. And a general trailer can't be in your driveway and can't be within so many feet of your house, it has to be in your backyard. But that didn't account when it was written in the 80s for food trucks. So the autonomy gave us the ability that in a week's time period, we were able to change that so that they were no longer illegal. And that's, he called me, the food truck owner called me on my way up here to talk to me about other opportunities in Trenton. We were able to act because of that autonomy.
All right, last exercise for the night is on the last page. The first section is an example of Lebanon's Article 1, and they break it down into 4 sections. You guys can read over that. It's about their incorporations, the powers that they have, their manner of exercising these powers, and the form of government that they've chosen, which is a city council with a city manager. So what I was hoping to do now is just get an idea of, one, you guys understand what that looks like, and then 2, how we might want to label these different sections and maybe combine some together. So it's a little bit weighty, so I'll let you guys read through it for a minute or 2. And then question number 1 and 2, again, is we want to combine some of these things, and how do we want to label them for clarity?
Do you know the demographics of Trenton, like conservative versus liberal?
Oh, you could probably overwhelmingly conservative. Yeah,
Overwhelming.
I would say overwhelmingly.
What about the council? Is it mostly
It's about
conservative?
50-50.
Okay, that's good.
It's funny when you don't put party labels and you just vote for people and their ideas, how much that changes.
Yeah. Something that is like a problem here is that in a primary election, Republicans, Democrats, so like you're Democrat, you don't always have a candidate, so you have to vote for the Republican candidate.
Right.
I assume you don't have primaries in it, because you don't have, yeah.
A lot of Republicans are Democrats too. That's the only way to go right.
Yeah.
You gotta have that R next to your name, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, this election is my first getting into party politics for the first time. This state rep.
Yeah, yeah.
That's been interesting.
Because you actually have a contender.
Well, yeah, and you've got to navigate the party.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a bit different.
You mean your own party or their party?
Oh, my own party.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine it's the same regardless.
This might be, nonpartisan. Independents are really partisan.
Are they partisan? I think it's pretty mixed, actually. We had, well, we have one, I would say, couple people that are middle of the road. We had 2 very strong Democrats for a while on council, and then a couple Republicans. I was telling him that once you remove the party labels, it becomes interesting when you're just voting for people and their ideas.
Oh, I think most people still know, at least here in Wilmington.
Yeah.
that if there wasn't, a D or an R, and we've got a couple Democrats on council. where,
Yeah.
That's not our, okay, so he's the only one that fits.
All right, this is a pretty simple exercise, so I'm just gonna shout it out. So the first question is just, some charter cities, like Lebanon, in their Article 1, they break up, basically just the last section there, they break up the form of government. So that one sentence there where it says, the form of government provided under this charter shall be known as council manager plan. The other plans would be like a strong mayor, what we have currently. It's just, do you see there being value in making that its own subsection, or could that be incorporated into, like 1.03, I guess? Wait, I'm sorry. That's not what it says. So Lebanon, Article 1 has all of these sections lumped into it. In Tip City, they break off that last section, 1.04, into a whole new article. So Article 2 is just the form of government. I'm not sure legally if there's a benefit, but you guys have any thoughts on that?
I guess we have to return,
Yeah.
unless you wanna pay me $600.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Making that form of government its own article?
I don't really see a benefit either way to that. I mean, I would suggest paying him the 600 because attorneys are expensive. That's a deal. If you wanna come to the city of Trenton, we would happily let you write some things for $600.
Then the next question, we'll maybe just table that for now. The next question is, I guess we'll table that with the caveat that we need to speak to a lawyer about that specific question. The next question is about naming these different articles. So I hope this small example that I gave you gives you enough information what this is all about. But what are your thoughts on naming Articles 2, 3, and 4? So Article 2 is about the city council, Article 3 is about their powers, and Article 4 is about the city manager. So they're just, the A, B, and C is just different meanings of those things, and what's most clear to you guys. So,
I think Loveland's, where it says the city council, that's pretty clear, probably what it means.
I agree.
And
Wilmington has a
action-
city council.
Actions of council, once again, that's what council and how they control, and the city manager, who's obviously gonna be controlled by this, hopefully by the city council. That lays it out, I think, Loveland is probably just one of their three articles.
I think whatever's,
I agree.
Good answer,
Yes.
smart.
I think village manager's kind of outdated.
We're not a village,
No.
so.
we're Lebanon. Still use it.
Well, they adopted their charter
Where they
when they
work.
were a village.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. Do you guys like actions of council better, or Lebanon says ordinances and resolutions, which I think is what council does? Or do you, that makes more sense?
Which one?
Rick, do you,
Yeah, that's the vocabulary we use in Wilmington, have used. I think whatever's comfortable,
yeah,
it's gonna be better to use words that we already use in a city government, yeah. And that's something that people aren't familiar with.
And most importantly, it's what people are going to understand, because they're the ones that are issuing the vote for this, as far as the process.
And that's why I kind of like actions of council better, because like, that just, what does council do? You know, like, that seems very basic and easy to me, but, I mean, you know, ordinances and resolutions, I mean, that makes sense just because I know what those are,
Not everybody.
but not everybody knows what that is. So if you just say something like actions of council, like, okay, like, that's what council does. It takes actions, you know, and then you explain what those actions are. Ordinances, resolutions, et cetera, et cetera.
This is run by city council, ultimately, they're the power.
Yeah.
And that's, it's, who to look to, it's going to control any city government, the city manager. Whereas right now, the mayor, he still has to deal with council, but it's not the same situation as, it's like you say, your city manager could be gone tomorrow, I guess, if council says you're gone.
Yeah.
Which, and that's, when you have that over your head, you better be doing what's best for the public. If you're, because all those other people that are on the council are elected by the public.
I would say, this is gonna get into the weeds a little bit, but I would be against the word actions as well, because it doesn't define what council does. So for us, and it's something to think about, we have something in our charter that says council shall not get involved in day-to-day operations. So I can't tell someone on our public works crew to come take care of the snow in my road before everybody else. So with that word, it kind of helps, because what you're saying is, this is all that council can do. Like, this is their assigned job. Their assigned job isn't to make sure grass is mowed, because technically that could be an action.
So action is a little too vague.
Yeah, I think so. If this is up to you guys. I'm just giving my thing to stop one council member from being the loud one that goes around and tries to dictate. That's how the city of Trenton stopped that well before me, is they pretty much said a council member is a citizen when they're not in session. Is pretty much how it is. Now, call the city manager and we can ask him to take care of something, or make him aware that something is happening, or bring him a complaint. We have no power to do anything about it. And that really stops one or two people from really taking over the city.
I think of a city employee that gets called by a council member to do something specific, and then maybe another council member calls and wants to do the opposite. So
Right.
you have a city manager.
Well, yeah, and then at the same thing, we don't control individual payrolls either. That's the city manager's job. So if you have, and like happens in small towns all the time, I know pretty much everybody that works for the city, and I've known them personally for years. But I don't vote on their individual pay. The city manager takes care of it. I give them a budget, and then I approve the budget. Now, there are pay ranges in that budget, but where they fit on that pay range is up to the city manager.
Still approved by the council.
It's as a whole. So I can't say that this employee makes this much money. No, there's a pay range that we approve. The city manager decides where they fall.
Council established the budget, and then you as mayor go to the city manager and say, here's the budget. And on that budget, there are line items like, say, for road crew, city road crew, they can make from this range to this range.
Yes.
And then the city manager goes, well, he's been here for 17 years, he falls here on that spectrum.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
City, do you have any other thoughts on that? If you were to because what I'm gonna do is email this out, so if there's not a consensus, we can just continue to discuss it. But it sounds like Loveland, Ohio, we like the city council and the city manager, and we're torn right now on Article 3, calling the actions of council or ordinance and resolutions.
Maybe you go legislative action.
It's not a big deal, but this is just some small potatoes we're discussing right now to kind of get into.
I mean,
Creating a
personally, I think actions, and I only say that because a couple years ago, I was in early 20s, and I didn't care about ordinance or whether we had an event, or, I think it appeals more to the older generation or my generation,
I mean, you could almost say actions and then just define the day-to-day operations. And
Make sure you define
You
what those
have to
actions
make
can
sure
be,
to
what they
define,
can't be.
unless you want your council to be able to call city employees, and then that's, that's up to you guys. I'm just telling you things that we, and I would say define day-to-day actions, because we've had that problem. I would say we've had that problem. It's been a very detailed discussion on what constitutes day-to-day action as well. So I would make sure to define that very clearly.
I think the Trenton third article where it says legislative action, maybe that's a better way of putting it.
And that
because,
might be true. That might be.
It has a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Like, because again, like action to me, says stuff that we can do.
Right.
That where we can take action, so, or whatever. And so, and for a city council, it would be legislatively, right? Makes sense.
We could maybe say legislative actions of council. Combine at the end.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's,
So easy.
that reads good.
Yeah, I think that's cool. So what I'll probably do is like condense some of these conversations into notes and email them to the steering committee. And then you can email me one-on-one with what your thoughts are, or we can discuss it at the next meeting maybe again. And we'll move on to the next part of writing a charter and hopefully have another awesome guest to clarify some things, answer questions. So I'm gonna be cleaning up. If you guys have more questions for Ryan, you can definitely ask him if he's gonna stick around, or if you wanna chat with me or each other, that's fine, but that's the meeting. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate being here.
Thanks for
Oh,
being here.
no problem. Thank you guys for having me.